On Sunday, January 14th, the head of the Ukrainian president's office, Andriy Yermak, attended the latest in a series of meetings to rally support for Ukraine's peace plan, held on the eve of the World Economic Forum in the Swiss resort town of Davos.
Another positive sign in the continuous growth in the number of the countries joining efforts on joint actions plan based on Ukrainian peaceful formula. And I'm very happy to say today 83 states and international organizations are represented here.
The meeting, which gathered 120 national security advisors, is the fourth of its kind and the biggest yet, following previous gatherings in Copenhagen, Jeddah, and most recently in Malta in October 2023. Officials had hoped the meeting in Malta would lead to the setting of a date for a global peace summit to build a coalition of support for Ukraine's 10-point peace plan, drafted by President Volodymyr Zelensky in December 2022. However, co-chairs limited themselves at the time to a joint statement referring to the participants' commitment to just and lasting peace. A top Kyiv official told Reuters in November that a summit to begin implementing the plan might take place in February 2024, with Ukraine fearing the war in Gaza is making it harder to win over diplomatic support for its blueprint for peace. Zelensky's plan includes calls for the restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity, the withdrawal of Russian troops, protection of food and energy supplies, nuclear safety, and the release of all prisoners. There is growing interest among American politicians in the unclear actions of Donald Tusk's government toward public media in Poland. Days ago, U.S. Senator James David Vance sent a letter to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, criticizing Washington for its stance against the new government's destruction of public media and the rule of law in Poland. I am writing to express my concern about the actions taken by the new government in Poland against Polish public broadcasters, the layoffs of employees at TVP, Polish Radio, and the Polish Press Agency, which began immediately after Donald Tusk and his political allies took power, raised questions about the new government's commitment to media freedom and the rule of law. In his letter, the senator pointed out how the illegal takeover of the media was assessed by Polish President Andrzej Duda and the Helsinki Foundation for Human Rights. Unfortunately, in recent days, the government coalition, in an attempt to take over the public media, has violated these principles. For the first time in free Poland after 1989, there was an attempt to take over the public media by force. The television signal of some channels was turned off, and news programs stopped broadcasting. And finally, Polish television, Polish radio, and the Polish Press Agency were put into liquidation. I would like to make this clear. Those in power can reform the public media, but it must be done in accordance with the law. The U.S. Senator stressed that it is not clear to him why President Joe Biden's administration has not taken any steps on this issue. It is not clear how the Biden administration's silence on the situation in Poland can be reconciled with earlier rhetoric on press freedom in Central Europe. Indeed, in recent years, Washington officials have readily commented on the media situation in neighboring countries, including Hungary, after citizens there elected a conservative government. Donald Tusk's strongmen carried out a takeover of public media and turned off the TV signal on December 20th. This happened a day after the Polish Sejm's resolution. According to the current Polish opposition, this was an illegal action. The alternative for Polish people became TV Republika. On Saturday, a great action of the free speech zone was launched, sending letters notifying of the threat to democracy and human rights in Poland. On the portal niezależna.pl, a form appeared, thanks to which you may send emails in English to MEPs, EU commissioners, international organizations, and editors of popular press titles in EU countries and the United States. Manifestations organized near the prisons in Radom and near Ostrołęka are gaining momentum. Manifestations organized for humanitarian reasons, conducted in solidarity with the starving political prisoners Mariusz Kamiński and Maciej Wąsik. Today marks the 6th day of their hunger strike. Maciej, stand tall among those on their knees. In your beloved Herbert's words, I speak to you. These are criminals. Until we have enough strength, we as patriotic Poles, and there are more people like us, we will not give up, as the MP we voted for as voters was taken away from us and is now sitting here in prison. We say no more barbarism in our country. Let's all start fighting for the return of democracy. For this government, people who are for freedom and justice should be in prison. And I very much think that Mr. Donald Tusk would love to have us all locked up today. Taiwan held dual elections yesterday, presidential and parliamentary. The results of these elections could determine war or peace in this geopolitically sensitive region. According to U.S. intelligence, China plans to annex Taiwan within the next 3 years, just as Russia annexed Crimea. Incumbent Vice President Lai Ching-te, hailing from the Democratic Progressive Party, who won Saturday's presidential election in Taiwan, is in favor of declaring independence for the island. I'm very nervous because it's a choice between whether we want to be closer to China or closer to the United States. This is related to the global situation. Personally, I hope to stay closer to the U.S., but everyone makes their own choice. Many believe that it is better to stick with China. After all, it is a democratic decision of the people. Many people I know went back to their hometowns to vote. I think this is really a great test of democracy. I hope others will also take this as a model. In Saturday's election, Lai Ching-te of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party won 40% of the vote and defeated Ho Yu-ich of the Nationalist Party and Ka Wan-ye of the Taiwan People's Party. The two parties favor rapprochement with communist-ruled China, which describes Lai Ching-te as a separatist and troublemaker for his stance on the island being de facto independent and his promise to defend it against threats of unification with China. Our stance on resolving the Taiwan issue and realizing national reunification remains consistent, and our determination is as unwavering as a rock. We will abide by the 1992 consensus, which embodies the principle of a united China, and firmly oppose separatist actions aimed at Taiwan independence, as well as foreign interference. Taiwan has called on China to respect the results of the presidential election and condemns the absurd and false comments of the Chinese authorities. The government in Beijing has never formally exercised sovereignty over Taiwan, but says the democratically ruled island is an inseparable part of Chinese territory and a rogue province. A winter storm bringing snow, ice, and high winds to parts of the U.S. Midwest and Pacific Northwest knocked out power for hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses on Saturday, January 13th, with a brutal freeze expected to grip numerous states. The National Weather Service said the storm was bringing heavy snow, strong winds, and blizzard conditions to the Midwest, with dangerous and frigid temperatures expected across the Rockies and Plains. On Saturday, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration said storms continue to cause flight cancellations and delays, including at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, due to winds and blinding snow. Some 150,000 homes and businesses were without power in Michigan, according to data from power outage tracker Power Outage. In Iowa, snow and extreme cold forced Republican presidential candidates to cancel some events ahead of the state's contests on Monday, in which parties picked their nominees for November's election. The Weather Service blamed the Arctic cold for a heavy lake effect snowfall downwind from the Great Lakes, with areas such as Buffalo, New York, expected to see an additional 12 to 24 inches of snow through Monday. Heavy snow and icing also contributed to travel problems and outages in Oregon, Idaho, and Utah, including in the Portland and Salt Lake City metro areas, though residents there were able to take advantage of a break in the weather for some sledding on Saturday.